Welcome to the Backpack Show, everybody, where we talk about business success and bring you insights from unusual places. Chris, speaking of unusual places, is on an airplane on his way to visit Mama and Papa Brogan. So it's just me and Wil Shelton today. But Wil is the author of The Silent Agreement, a nonfiction book about race, equity, and corporate America. He can provide insights on how corporate America has an illusion of inclusion and what steps we need to take to fix that. We also have a lot of boxing analogies to talk about and his own business as well. He's got his own agency. I'm really excited to talk with him about all of this. So say hi, Wil.
Hey there, how you doing?
And
Thanks for
now I don't even know what to, I have to start the show without Chris. I don't even know what to do.
I
Hi
know.
everyone, Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gargone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show.
A fun fact. So Mama and Papa Brogan are here and Chris isn't. He'll be there soon. So, Wil, can we talk about you've got an agency you're running, so you've got your hands full, right? How did you decide that to write the book in the first place, and how did you find time to do it in the midst of everything going on?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I have my own marketing agency. What I do,
Willpower.
Willpower Integrated Marketing. And it's like I help global brands, entertainment companies connect with the African American consumer in Black barbershops and salons. I have a network of over 100,000 Black barbershops and salons nationwide. And I actually started out as a licensed barber and cosmetologist 27 years ago. And I had an epiphany while I was in the shop doing hair. There's always a conveyor belt of conversations going on, and everybody wanted to know what song was that playing in the background or what movie to go see. And they would tell me, I'm going to go buy that album when I leave the shop. So I said, wait a minute, I'm helping the entertainment industries market their products. They should be sending me free CDs to play. So then I decided I'm going to send a proposal out to all the movie studios and record labels I can think of. And within about 30 days after I did that, I started getting free CDs and movie passes to give away. And that's how the business started. After over 20 years, I developed a network of over 100,000 shops, and I help the global brands connect in a culturally relevant, authentic way with the African American consumer.
So it's not like you had an interest in marketing or anything. This is instinct kind of brought you to it.
Yeah, you know what, Kelly, I think of myself as like I was always like a marketer disguised as a barber. It was just like kind of a gift I always had. I always kind of did it in my head, and I always kind of had a knack for putting together marketing strategies. And then I just kind of jumped into it, and because I told myself, if I have nothing to lose.
Well, that's the thing. So waiting, like Chris has said this a lot, but waiting around for permission gets you nowhere. But if you need permission, consider yourself granted permission, right? So there you go. Now, if we could talk about the book. So it's The Silent Agreement, an illusion of inclusion in Black corporate America. And whatever I was expecting it to read like, it's very different. So there's a lot of boxing analogies in it. So you're sort of like a boxing historian that came around to marketing, and now you're writing about this. Can we talk about the boxing thing?
Yeah, exactly. Well, boxing's like a metaphor for life. There's a fight in life for everything. There's a fight in your business, a fight in your marriage, a fight in your personal life. And I've always been a big sports boxing historian and aficionado. So when I started writing about the fight for the Black executive in corporate America, it kind of made sense with the metaphor of boxing. It's like you're fighting for that C-suite position, and you're fighting for that seat at the conference table, and the fight for that seat in the corporate ring, if you will. So I wrote this book about how to fight with conviction against the broken promises and the broken culture in corporate America.
So broken promises, it occurs to me that there weren't a lot of promises being made originally, But now it's even worse. Now it's like, sure, yeah, we totally need like a diversity and inclusion person, and you can totally be that. And here's your office, and we'll like never talk to you again.
Yeah, it is funny because after last year we were all in the same valley of suffering where the sand was shifting underneath all of us, and then you had two pandemics. You had the COVID-19 pandemic, and then you had the pandemic of racism, which there is no vaccine for that, right? So the companies stood up and said, we stand in solidarity with you. But my question to them was, is your solidarity solid or is it symbolic? Does your stance line up with your stats? You only have 2% Black and brown executives, yet you should have at least 13%. Did Black Lives Matter before the Black Lives Matter movement? So those are all the questions that I asked them. And that's what kind of like propelled the book.
A lot of the things you talk about in it, like even I took boxing lessons before the pandemic, right? Like, and I didn't hear a lot of the terms that you use, but to come back to silent agreement, that's actually from like a boxing story. Even the term silent agreements. Can you just kind of unpack that for us?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I love it because, the silent agreement is something that even a lot of boxing aficionados don't even understand. And it kind of starts with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson in his prime used to knock out most of his sparring partners. But every once in a while, Kelly, he would get one that he couldn't knock out. So he would resort to holding and clinching and trying to, prolong things. And his trainer, Teddy Atlas, told him one day, Mike, you're making a silent agreement. And one day you're going to get a guy who's not going to sign the contract with you. So I attributed that to what happens to Black executives in corporate America. Usually they find out the hard way that the other side won't sign the contract. But this is what happens. They don't stop fighting for those top positions. They start fighting with less intensity, and they start throwing what I call don't hit me punches. And those don't hit me punches is when you start fighting not to lose instead of fighting to win, just trying to survive, waiting for the conflict to be over. And Kelly, a lot of times what happens is they turn into psychological contortionists, twisting themselves in knots for the illusion of inclusion.
So in other words, like having even the nominal position from which to do make whatever smaller changes they're able to make is worth it enough that they don't fight for real change, or that it's just built everything stacked against them so much that the effort would be futile. Like the don't hit me punches.
Yeah, the don't hit me punches that they throw, it's like you're throwing those punches, but it's like you're no longer really fighting to win, but you're fighting just to survive at that point. Yeah, just to stay. Because check it out. You're always fighting above your weight class. As a Black executive, you have so much weight on you. And, a lot of times, Black kids are told by their parents, you have to do twice as much to get half the rewards. So you already have that mindset going into situations where you're fighting above your weight class, but then you're out producing people in your division at the same time.
One of the things I thought was really interesting is the chapter on bobbing and weaving. Because if you boil it down, it's really about something we should all be doing anyway, but it's about networking and building your support system, professional support system outside the organization in which you have to operate now.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can build networks within the organization, but I think it's more important to build those networks outside of the organization as well, because corporate America, they're highly adept at bobbing and weaving for you to get that chance. And so we need to learn how to bob and weave in life and in business and in corporate America in that ring that you're in every day.
So Chris Brogan, my erstwhile host who's now on an airplane, says, so they're calling their small steps good enough. I think what Chris is saying is that when you're in that position of fighting just to stay in instead of fighting to win, I don't think that anybody would say those steps are good enough, but I think what you're saying is that being there is so important that until now, some people have been willing to fight to stay in.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have to realize that good enough is not even good enough anymore. You have to dream bigger. than even the last generation to hold that door open for them. And think about it this way, the impulse to dream of the C-suite position has been slowly beaten out of us by corrupt corporate experiences that we've had.
So boxing is rigged. Corporate America is also rigged. It's about the size of it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a dirty hand in boxing, and there's a dirty hand in corporate America.
So Jane says, let's hook up. Well, we can do an article in the beauty industry report for senior executives and professional beauty. Jane is a PR person. She's great.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the hookup.
So another thing I wanted to ask you about, when you talk about punching above your weight class, you just mentioned that you say never punch down, only punch up. So what does this look like in practice?
What it looks like in practice is it's a mentality that you have to have. It's a mentality that you have to know that you're enough before you even arrive in corporate America. You know, it's not what we don't have, it's what we think we need that hold us back from going after our dreams. So you have to have the heart, the will, and the desire of how to be a champion in corporate America, and always punch up and never punch down, because once you start punching down, the only way you go is down.
Now, I know you'll appreciate this as a marketer. I have to do a couple of ads, but stay right there because I promise it's going to take like 60 seconds or less. So not a problem. First of all, we are sponsored by StreamYard. Would you like to make your own show just like this one? Get your own author to talk about inclusion and equity? Go to cbrogan.me/StreamYard and you can do all the things I'm doing right now, like screen sharing and showing links and comments, and it's super, super easy. If you prefer audio, Castos.com can host your podcast file for you and syndicate it to all the places. Castos.com makes it stupid easy to get your audio podcast hosted, so go over there. And if you'd like a domain for the new shows you're going to create, may I suggest a .online domain? Because if you go there and use the code Chris in all caps, cbrogan.me/online, use the code Chris in all caps, because it has to be all caps. I don't know. You can get a .online domain for less than $1 for the whole year. The only one not available is Your Mom Is .online, because I checked and I'm sorry, but it's not available. And if you want to search for what might be some good show ideas, can I suggest Presearch? Presearch is an amazing alternative to Google. It's kind of like a stick it to the man, brand new alternative. You get crypto rewards for using the site. Don't forget to log in. Chris used it for like a month. Solid daily use without logging in. So he didn't get any crypto rewards, but you can. So end the search monopoly, presearch.com. Look, I did it. So that's all the ads. I want to ask a little bit more. Oh, Elizabeth has a question. I'll get to that first. How do we encourage younger professionals to keep dreaming, as well as younger and maintaining ours as well? I think I'm just going to boil it down to encouraging younger professionals.
Yeah, I think we have to stop comparing ourselves and start preparing ourselves. You know, I think we need to stop what I call possibility blindness, and never limit your beliefs in yourself. You know, you never can rise above your thoughts. So, you know, you have to realize that you're full of versatility with nothing but ability.
Ooh, so now I can tell you're a marketer. There it is. You said a couple of other things too. We may not get everything we fight for, but everything we get will be a fight.
Yeah, that's really, really deep. It starts where, you know, you get nowhere until you get real. And you have to get real about what's really important. And what's really important is not just the equality, but the quality of the equality. And there's always going to be a fight, you know. And that's the thing about the silent agreement. You know, it's going to be a fight up front, and you know you have to be prepared for the fight, and you know you have to have the strategies, like the chapters in the book about how to throw in the towel, how to fight above your weight class, how to deal with step aside money. So it's really that
step aside money.
yeah, that's the deep one. Step aside money. Oh man, it's the thing that happens in boxing, and it happens in corporate America. I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown. Basically, in boxing, when you have a world champion and you have promoters around that champion, a lot of times that champion fears the perceived threat of his next number one opponent. So he may not want to fight them just yet. So he'll offer them step aside money so to fight the number 2 or 3 contender.
Get out. So you get money for not fighting.
For not fighting. And then that happens in corporate America. You know, Black executives are offered certain positions that are kind of token positions, and they'll offer you, though, it's like a step aside position instead of that position going to the top. Maybe they'll put you in the urban department, and then you'll be in urban purgatory for a long time.
What's an urban department? I don't know anything, and I need to.
Urban departments are dealing with like maybe, you know, issues that deal with, you know, Black issues in the company, or a department that deals with a certain segment. And it's a title. You'll be the urban VP of the department. Even in music, you've heard of urban music or R&B urban music. So that's a title, but it's directly related to Black specific things that go on in those divisions. So they'll offer you those positions instead of the positions that are more general market positions.
I've heard you say things like, this was especially important, is that we're not going to get anywhere until everybody not affected by this discrimination is as outraged about it as those who are. So are we getting there or not? So for the people who can be like, oh, I'm so tired of talking about diversity and inclusion, I just want to do my work. Like, how do we get everybody on board? And are we getting there now after 2020?
Wow, that's a great question. I think we're getting there, but it's a slow process. And corporations that are committed to D&I, they have to make D&I a part of their DNA, is what they're going to have to do. Because one thing that's happening is like the Black consumer is looking under the hood, and they're doing a 150-point inspection on these corporations now. They want to know how many Blacks are in C-suite positions. They want to see better depictions of Blacks in their commercials and advertisements. They want to know that your products are accessible in their community. So they're doing a CT scan on you, and they're voting with their $1.4 trillion buying power.
So if you could wave a magic wand and make things the way they ought to be, what would it look like? Like when we're done, not that we're ever going to be done. Do you know what I mean? But when we've come to where we need to, what will it look like?
I think it would look like transparency, because there's a truancy of transparency and honesty. And those corporations that take occupancy of that have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And, you know, when they become really transparent and they confess what they need to do, that's when you can heal the cultural damage that's been done. So I say, show up in truth, be transparent, be honest. And you can never fix what's going on the outside, on the inside, by going outside. You have to start within the company, and you have to really just deal and heal from that point of view.
Is the reality of how things are in corporate America part of the reason that you went into business for yourself?
I think for me, it's a small percentage, because when I went into business for myself, that was like 30 years ago. So, you know, so I think a lot of this stuff wasn't really going on, and I really didn't work in corporate America as much. But when I became a Black consultant and a Black culturalist, I started working with these corporations and understanding, you know, what was really going on. So for me, it wasn't really the reason why I went into business for myself, but there's so many others that I interviewed for this book and have spoken to. That's the reason why, because, you know, you're literally almost shaving years off of your life when you stay in here in these corporations, because sometimes you're dealing with emotional war criminals that are, you know, maiming and killing your spirit.
Wow. Well, first, when you said shaving years off your life, I'm like, you're still a barber, like under all that. Still a barber. Still talking about too.
Oh, wow.
What do companies need to do? Let's just say they're at the point where they know that things aren't right, even if personally all the people that haven't experienced that kind of discrimination yet, but they want to do right. What are some programs they can put in place? What are some policy changes they need to make? Like, what actions can they take that are genuine and not just putting up an Instagram post saying, we support you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, first of all, I think they need to develop a pipeline. See, what's the problem, bigger problem, is that they say, well, we don't know where to find any Black and brown executives. So where's the pipeline at? You know, baseball has farm teams that they have.
Oh my gosh, farm teams. So like you're not talking about starting at like college days and stuff. You're talking about going further back.
Yes, I'm talking because look, they usually go to the universities and these college you got to go to JC, you got to go to high school and junior high school and start have career days. Well, instead of talking about, you know, financial literacy, what about career literacy for these young, gifted, talented minorities that don't even know they have the option to get into your industry? Go all the way back to junior high, high school, and start developing the pipeline there.
So when you do that, then so the book, is it for Black people in corporate America specifically, or can other minorities learn from it as well? Like, should we just get this book for everybody? I know you, as an author, you have to say yes, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, you know what?
Who's it for?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. This book is for the Black executive and it's for allyship. One of the most important things is the ally. So because look, your ally could be your mentor. You know, in boxing, you have a trainer in your corner. You have a cornerman. So this is for the cornermen in corporate America that want to step up to the challenge, that want to rise above the occasion. It's for them as well. This book is not only timely, but it's timeless. It's not only relevant, but it's revealing. And when it's written to get more out of you than you get out of it. So you go from a reader to a leader.
I'm telling you, it's like you were just born to market. So I want to know, I'm thinking about what this looks like. And if I want to go make myself a farm team and go back to career days and schools and stuff like that, what kinds of things should I be doing? Should I make up internship programs or like provide educational resources, scholarships, things like that?
Yeah, all of the above. I would go back, number one, and I would set up where they had internships. Nowadays, I mean, because of technology, you can do a day in the life of an executive. You can film this and then show the video in class and then have the person show up just like we are right now and just FaceTime or do a Zoom with a classroom of kids. They don't even have to go to the schools. So do things like that. I mean, really leverage the technology that we have now.
Can you even imagine, well, how dicey that is? Like in this day and age, it's like, do you mind if we just follow you around while you do like whatever?
Oh, they would love, you know what? It's so many executives that would love it. I mean, and corporations that would love it, because I mean, that's what helps build the respect. You want to gain the respect of the Black consumer, of the African American and the minorities. How do you gain their respect? By doing these types of things. And these corporations know that.
Well, it's definitely important to have people visible in the kinds of roles that have traditionally been held by like middle-aged white males. I don't see any other way to help people aspire than to show them that it's possible.
Exactly, because that's one of the biggest problems that I discussed before, is the possibility blindness. You don't really have the role models. You don't really have the exposure to the expertise, the exposure that you can be more than just an NBA player or an NFL player or a rapper. You know, who's running those corporations? You can run the 76ers team that you are a fan of. You can run Universal Pictures or your favorite record label that your favorite rapper's on, instead of wanting to be a rapper. There's so many opportunities that the young people don't know about. If they knew about it, and a lot of them are probably very gifted and talented, and and have a propensity for these careers and industries.
We had some guests on that were with the Oliver Scholars Program, and they take students who are really talented and gifted and help them get into private schools and other educational programs. And then we had some of the alumni from that program on. It's like unbelievable what they're doing. Makes me think about my misspent youth. So check out Oliver Scholars if you want to know how to like really go back and make a farm team. They're like growing a farm team. It's like Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters.
Wow. Hopefully you can send me the link to that.
Yes, I will. Absolutely will. So we have a couple more things that we do on the show. First is to choose a person of the day, which I don't even know how I'm going to choose a person of the day.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
I'm going to say it's Elizabeth because Elizabeth asked the question about how to get young people. She liked your advice about young people going inside themselves, and she asked how we can encourage them to keep dreaming. So I think that's so important. So that gets you an apple, Elizabeth. You just have to go purchase it for yourself and then wash it like really, really good before you eat it. And then bake it into a pie if you're me, is what I would do. So the one question that we ask everybody, everybody from Sir Mix-a-Lot to Sister Anne Flanagan to Mistress Montana, the dominatrix who owns 5 dungeons. Really, business success comes in all shapes and sizes. But what goes in your backpack for success? Like we're living in shifting sands, everything's changing. You can't really have a great big heavy fortress in which you keep all your things. You have to just have a few things in your backpack. So it might be real, it might be metaphorical. So it might be something like an extra set of teeth, or it might be like hope for the future. So what would you put in the backpack for success?
I would put hope. I would put faith. I would put fortitude, perseverance, and accountability, because accountability is more important than your ability.
Accountability. So before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you a question and you can address it right to me if you want. But what's something that we as white people in corporate America should stop doing like right now? Stop.
Right now, stop doing is, I think, stereotyping. Because stereotypes are mere shadow images rooted in one's history deep in the subconscious.
So that requires a lot of introspection and kind of dismantling the ideas that some people have had without ever really examining them, right? So
exactly. It's that kind of structural, I would call it that asymptomatic brand of racism and bigotry.
So look at yourself. I mean, like I would need to look at myself the way I look at my mom or my dad or any of the elderly people in my family. Should be mad at me for calling her elderly. But any of those people where you're like, wow, you really just said that. Think about the things that we say that maybe are not intended badly, but are still just the same part of the same system.
Yeah, it's like that micro invalidation that happens, and I think just be more sensitive. And just realize that, you can always begin again.
You don't have to stay racist, even subtly racist.
Even covertly or just subtly, or it's just one of those things where I think if you start to, like you say, look inside, evaluate yourself, evaluate the environment that you're in, evaluate the people that you're around, because that contributes to it.
Thanks for joining us, Will. Everybody go to thesilentagreement.com or Amazon, all the other places that fine books are sold, to get yourself a copy of the book, The Silent Agreement, An Illusion of Inclusion in Black Corporate America. Now, Elizabeth says, thank you. Applesauce is yummy with cinnamon. You still have to go get the apple yourself. But congratulations, Elizabeth, on being our person of the day. So my Uncle Phil made a couple of questionable jokes, like when I was talking about elderly people in my family. And one of them actually came back during our celebration of life that we had for him. Like some people from his work said, he was really funny. And one time he told this joke and it was amazing. And I'm going to share it with you. And I was like, really? At a celebration of life? This is what we're going to talk about. So what ended up happening was that he told the joke and I'm not going to tell it here, but I felt pretty uncomfortable. I sometimes give people the idea that I'm actually going to tell them the joke or finish the story. Like Chris will tell a grandmother story, but he never finishes the story he tells at the end of the show. And I think it'd be best for everybody if I didn't either. So I'm just not going to. But thanks everybody for joining us today at the Backpack Show. Told you it was bad.